I'm Stuart Gus, official personal injury attorney of U of H Athletics. As you know, a great quarterback wins championships. If you've been injured in an auto accident, big or small, you can trust Gus to quarterback your case.
Call 866-TRUST-GUS today. Principal Office, Houston, Texas.
U of H loses 43-30 to Oklahoma State. You had a 14-point lead with just a couple minutes left in the first half, and you blew it. You freaking blew it. And this is on Dana Holgerson and the entire organization. You were not prepared to play in the second half. The 12 men on the field penalties, the 10 men where you had to call a timeout, maddening. How does that happen? How does that happen in game 11? And it just makes no sense. Players are clearly frustrated. Lots going on. Starnes, what do you think? What do you got?
It seemed like the second half looked like the Cougars that we've seen all year.
Yeah.
It was, the first half was sort of like almost the dream, but you could also kind of tell it wasn't sustainable. I think first touchdown was a pick six. There was a blocked PAT. There was a safety. Donovan Smith ran or caught a touchdown in the first half, and you could just kind of tell they were pulling out all the stops to jump on OSU, and they did. Yeah. But there was two really bad errors that just totally swung the momentum going into the halftime, and I think that was sort of it. There's a taunting penalty on a 3rd and forever by Jamal Morris. That was really bad. That gave them their first touchdown of the game, and when it looked like they were about to be dead in the water. Their offense was bad to start the game.
You mean Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State, yeah.
Okay.
And then the Donovan Smith pick, the first one, that was just a terrible, terrible pick. And those are the things that effectively swung the game. I believe those are 2 touchdowns right there. You lose by 2 touchdowns. And that's what swung the game. You could have been up at least 23-3 or something like that. Maybe worse, maybe better, maybe 30, maybe something different. If you, there's 2 of you.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
One of them has to go. There we go.
But you could have been up at least 3 scores, if not for 2 terrible plays. And then in the second half, it all just fell apart, and they just weren't able to sustain that.
Yeah. So Jamal Morris, Dana said in the post game that Jamal Morris completely owned the taunting mistake. He made a mistake. I mean, you just cannot do that in that situation. And he screwed up, and he owned it. And Donovan screwed up on the interception, and he owned it. But there was a lot more. You're 2 of 10 on 3rd down tonight. That's horrible. You didn't really run the ball very well. U of H only ran 57 plays, I believe. Nelson Caesar said in the postgame, this was really puzzling to me, that he felt like they contained Ollie Gordon. Gordon ran for 3 touchdowns, 60 yards, ran 89. For 6.5. Say that again?
189.
Okay, that's even more. So he ran for like 7 yards a play. And that's not containing anyone. And there's a disconnect in this whole program from reality and what they think truth is. And it starts at the top and thinking that expectations have been met and that, everybody we talk to thinks everything's okay. That's just such a mind-blowing thought. And it goes down to the head coach who, once again, says, hey, it's just Big 12 football. No, it's not. You were competitive on the scoreboard. You were not competitive in the game. Yes, you had a lead in the first half. You took a lead to halftime. But Oklahoma State dominated the second half. Football games are won in the second half. They're not won on trick plays in the first half. And I just don't. You're 4-7 now. You've got to go to UCF and win a football game to get the 5-7 to even look remotely respectable. You fired Dana Dimmel for 5-7 20 years ago. Major was fired with 8 wins. But Dana's getting another year with potentially 4. And, you can be on any side of that, and that's fine. Doesn't matter. But there's no growth. There's no progress. Your progress was a trick play, a pick 6, blocking a PAT. Those are not normal plays. That's not building something. That's just some freak stuff, and then you made a nice play on a trick. Let's get to something that was brought up by a lot of people post-game. Just want to get to it, talk about it, and we can kind of forget about it. Someone on social media, and I don't know who, claimed that this photo, which Dana's not in, was Dana giving it to the students. U of H officials said, and Dana said this in the press conference, and other U of H officials said that they were there and nothing happened. It's a non-story. And in this day and age, I am not taking any truth from a photo. You got to give me video. It's just not enough. You can bury Dana for 100 things, but this is flimsy, and we're not gonna spend any time on it until we know more. If somebody shows me more, I'm willing to talk. But as it stands right now, I think that's pretty flimsy. Who did you think had a good game today?
Lane Wilkins had a decent game again. He had another juke punt. I'm turning into you. I've spent too much time with you.
It's clear.
Isaiah Hamilton had that pick 6, and he had a couple. He had another pass defense, I think, in the first half. And then Malik Robinson had that safety. There wasn't, I don't think, one player that stood out to you as having a good game. I thought Parker Jenkins had some decent runs, but otherwise the run game wasn't that great. I think, and you mentioned the lack of growth in this team. When I think about it, I couldn't tell you if the team that went in and played UTSA or TCU is, I don't know if if this team today is better than those teams there. I have no clue, honestly. And I don't think we've had a clue all year as to whether or not this team has improved, whether we can figure out what the identity of this team is, whether we can predict anything they're going to do at all. And that's just, I don't know what you're able to take from that as growth, as building something, if you're just all over the place all the time, within week to week, within half to half, quarter to quarter. It just doesn't make sense. Quite honestly, you're 2 plays away from being 2-9 right now. In the West Virginia game, that was their most complete game, and yet they almost lost it. It was a miracle play from losing it, and that's. I don't know what you take away. I don't know how you take away what you've seen this season and say, look at it and say, that's good. We're good here.
You reminded me of something, and I forgot to do this a bit ago, but I got the Go Cougs punt shirt on tonight. Woo! You can find that at punt.gocougs.com. You can get all your punting shirts at punt.gocougs.com. I just want to read some comments because there's a lot, and I love it, and keep it up. We're just going to go through. Woo! Yahoo! I love President Couture. Accurate. The discipline you saw from Jamal Morris, from 10 men on the field on defense to 12 men on the field on defense to 12 men on the and you can say that, but that is on coaches, because nobody runs onto the field unless a coach tells you to, unless a coach says this is your spot. You're not just running out there. And so I want to put that on players, but I think that's squarely on coaches. And I think a lot of people right now feel that Doug Belk is going to be the sacrificial lamb. And whether that's justified or not, I think that's kind of how people feel. I guess we'll see in about 8 or 9 days. But right now, it looks like Dana is staying, and somebody's going to have to go. The problem is it's really the offense, not the defense. People look at the defense and say, oh, that's bad, that's bad. But it's the offense. You scored, 30 points today? Well, 2 of that was a safety. 7 of it was a pick 6. Really, you scored 3 touchdowns. 1 was on a deep throw, not a drive. You did have a drive. And then you had the one late in the game. Okay. Is that good enough? Is 3 touchdowns good enough? It's not. And
I don't think the defense has been losing games.
No.
It's the offense. It's the offense scoring 0 against Kansas State, not scoring 1 touchdown in the second half today, not scoring anything against TCU. It's all those things. That's what loses them the games. And the defense. It's not like it's a top half Big 12 defense, but it's able to hold with the amount of within reasonable expectation, with the amount of plays that teams are able to run on them, with how much running they're able to do, and just the amount of time that the other team is able to have in each game. The offense has been just so inconsistent. It was, this first half was like the first good half they had since Texas.
First half? Yeah. Well, they played okay in the second quarter, but it wasn't a good first half.
Yeah.
It's hard to figure out what this team is. I guess they've kind of told us what they are. They're just inconsistent. They're not good. And they struggle. And you've scored 30 points in regulation against Rice, and you needed a huge fourth quarter comeback, against Sam Houston, against West Virginia, and tonight. You got the 30, but that, only 21 of that is on offense. It's bad. And you can't fire Iman Nagabi. You can't get rid of Burchett because that's Dana's guy. And you can't get rid of Dana, apparently. So what are you going to do on offense? You called out receivers last week. You called out running backs. You called out everybody there is. Yeah, you lost some offensive linemen. You lost Tyler Johnson really late in the game. You lost Unije second half. Freeman did not play. Okay. I don't think Demetrius Hunter was the problem tonight. I don't think center was the issue. So you can't say that losing Freeman is the problem. Let's look at some other comments. This one's really long, and I need to read it. Let's see. How do they expect to sell 10,000? I have 2 degrees. Well, they were $1 a piece on Vivid Seats and StubHub and whatever today. You're probably going to find them pretty cheap next year with a lackluster schedule. I think this year was the record for number of tickets sold. You're going to see the record for number of tickets lost. And, next summer people will get back into it and hype themselves. But There's no hype. There's nothing that you can build off of right now. And you're going to recruit poorly. You're going to lose a lot of guys to the portal. Some of them you may need to lose. Some of them you probably don't want to lose. There's nothing going the right way right now. And I just don't know what you hang your hat on. Mixed bag, inconsistent, embarrassing, atrociously bad. That was all on Donovan. There's no question.
Yeah, Donovan's been bad the last 4 weeks. I think
Since the Hail Mary, really. I mean, he had a few good minutes against UT, but otherwise,
yeah, I think this is how many 10 interceptions in 5 games, 8 and 4,
something like
something
that.
like that.
It's 5 in a row,
Yeah,
and you've lost
And-
every one of those except the overtime to Baylor.
yeah, and the thing coming into the season was, is he going to be able to take care of the ball? And he did to start. He did it pretty well to start,
Yeah.
taking care of the ball. And then since the Texas game where he had those 2 picks in the second half that were both bad.
Yeah,
Um,
and he
It's
had
just
a
been
fumble
tough to-
in that game too.
he had a fumble, yeah.
Yeah. So Donovan, Belk, Nagavi, Dana, administration. I think the people that work in the stadium, the janitors, those are doing a good job. I think they're nice people. But otherwise, yep, throw them all under the bus. Up 14 and then lost by 2 scores. That is 100% accurate.
Oh, how many points was it? It was, what was it, 24, 27 points unanswered? Is that what it was?
Well, it was 23-9,
Yeah.
and they ended up with 39, so it's 30. I might be wrong on that. That's accurate. That's tough, but that might be accurate too. I'm going to give Smith a pass here just a little bit, okay? You rarely see a quarterback come in and have a big season, big numbers in his first year. Transfers usually take some time. There are obvious exceptions. I think Caleb Williams went in and won a Heisman, right? But you see what he's done this year. I think they lost to UCLA today. It's hard. And to think that a guy that slid down to third team at Texas Tech was just going to turn it around, that might be a little delusional for a fan base to think. But you have to expect better than what you're getting. And that's coaching and it's preparation. And it's the guys around him. You know, I don't see guys making extraordinary plays for their quarterback. And you know, I don't think Stacey Snead ran the ball at all today. He was back for kickoffs, but
I don't know if
they
he
only
took an
started.
offensive snap.
Yeah, they only started returning kicks in the fourth quarter when they're down a couple scores, which is maddening. You get the ball at the 7 or the 9, and you don't want to return it. What are you doing? Why even have somebody back there? It just makes no sense that you give up the opportunity that the kicking game gives you because you just decide we're not doing it. You did the same thing last week, and you did it a good bit at Baylor. What the hell is going on? I get it. You don't have Matthew Golden. But guess what? People return kicks before Matthew Golden. I'm going to get angry. I'm feeling that heart rate go up. Thank you, buddy. I agree with you, too.
Yeah, I think you could just tell going into halftime that, U of H, like they weren't going to be able to pull out all the stops anymore. They had sort of everything. They had done everything they could. It seemed like, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
they ran the trick play. They got the pick six. They made the stops. But once it all stopped, and OSU actually was able to get a drive going or get in rhythm.
Once extraordinary things stopped happening, right?
Yeah.
So this game started with the most extraordinary thing. Oklahoma State went 2.5 series before they ran the All-American. Who does that? Maybe that's part of their grand scheme, and Gundy's explaining that in his press conference right now, and it's next level, but I don't get it. They were out of sync. The pick that Bowman threw, as soon as that ball left his hand, everybody in the stadium said to themselves, pick six. Every person. My sister was here for this game, by the way. U of H lost. Good job, Jamie. You're almost undefeated still. Everybody saw that that's what was coming. It was that bad a throw. And they were out of sync, and they're throwing it, and it just made no sense. And you get the pick six, and you run the trick play, and you block the point after. But what do you have? It's just a collection of plays. It's not an offense. It's not a game plan. Nobody plans to run 57 plays. There's never a thought about tempo or trying something different. You have been mediocre doing the same thing all year, and you decided once again to do the same thing. And it just doesn't – it makes no sense. I need tacos. 1-1 versus the AAC. You've already lost to Cincinnati, so you're kind of 1-2 against the AAC. You beat UTSA. You lost to Rice, which apparently isn't a big deal to the chairman of the board. That's fine. You know, we're struggling against these Big 12 teams, but let's forget UTSA and let's forget Rice. And Cincinnati, who's in the same damn boat, came into your house. I think, what did they go? They won 3 games at home. You won Sam Houston, you won UTSA. I guess that's it.
And West Virginia.
West Virginia. I forgot about West Virginia. 3 wins at home. Yeah. So you went 3-4. I think Dan's 14-12 now in his career at home. I have to check that number, but I'm pretty sure that's the number.
With West Virginia as well, or just
no. I don't care about that. I care about Houston. I don't know if you knew that, but this is a U of H show. Let's see.
You said career.
Well, okay, U of H career. 14-12 at home. It might be 14-13 now. And he's under 500 in games in the state of Texas. Blows my mind how that happens. These comments are coming in faster than we can post them and respond. You're all very correct. Thank you so much. Jamie is my sister. He even spelled her name right. To see the program is dead. Yeah. And Rice gets FIU next week. U of H gets UCF. Rice is going to win their game. I don't think. I don't know if U of H is going to win theirs. It's really hard to say that it's going to be. Please portal the quarterback. He kills the team. I don't think the quarterback's the problem. I really don't.
I don't think that.
He does some dumb things, and he presses, but you know it.
That's a college quarterback.
Yeah. You know, it's curious that when he started scrambling is right at the same time he started throwing the picks. I don't think they're related. Maybe they are, but I don't think they are. But it's curious. It's odd. And the offense has gone into complete shutdown.
It will go down that they had, after the Donovan Smith trick play touchdown, it was 6 punts and an interception, but it was really 7 punts because
they punted twice on one drive.
one drive because we were roughing the passer, and then they just did a 3-and-out anyway. The defense let Brennan Presley catch the most balls since 1949. He's listed at 5'8". He seems a little shorter.
That guy is 5 foot flat. There's no way he's any taller than 5 feet. There's just not. He is not a large human, but he got open, and good for him. What was it, 18 balls?
I think it was 19 targets, 15 catches.
Okay, 189 yards.
He was one catch away from tying the record.
Okay. Woo! So I think the thing to take away from this game is you prevented a 5'8" guy from tying the all-time receiving mark at Oklahoma State. You know, they played football 130 years. No big deal. What do you say? Let's take a 15-second breather. Y'all don't go anywhere. This is fun, right? No? Okay. I don't know where the commercial went. Where'd the commercial go? Do you think they had this much trouble over at the Pod Slamma-Jamma? I don't remember having this much trouble.
We could go find any.
We could go over there. That's what we should do, is just say, screw this one and go to that show. But they got a different law firm, and we have Gus.
I'm Stuart Gus, official personal injury attorney of U of H Athletics. As you know, a great quarterback wins championships. If you've been injured in an auto accident, big or small, you can trust Gus to quarterback your case.
Call 866-TRUST-GUS today. Principal office, Houston, Texas.
I'd like to point out this comment real quick. You're losing, I think, 4 of your offensive linemen after this year. You're losing
4 starters.
4 starters, yes. And Patrick Paul, who may go in the first round of the NFL draft.
He will.
Jack Freeman, he will. Jack Freeman, Unije, and is it Tank Jenkins that they're losing, or Tyler Johnson?
Yeah, no, it's Tank Jenkins. Tyler Johnson has at least another year.
He has another year. Yeah.
And he's used his transfer, so he can't even leave. So Tyler Johnson is in a bad spot, but no worse than what the fans are in. You're going to have to go and find 8 guys in the portal. You're losing Max Baines as well. Maybe somebody else that I'm not remembering. But it's clear that they don't have a lot of faith in Garth. You haven't seen him all year. He hasn't been on a 2-deep. They don't have a lot of faith in anybody. I thought Demetrius Hunter was fine today. I'm curious to see the numbers with PFF and whatever, but I don't think he killed you. He had a holding penalty, which, that's just a price of poker. But, you're losing Unije, you're losing Tank, and they haven't been great on that right side. I don't think they've been as bad as I expected them to be, but they haven't been very good either. But you lose them, and you lose some continuity, and you lose your center, which is a big deal. I will say, I don't think he missnapped the ball. I don't think he was a problem there. You saw 2 bad snaps from Oklahoma State early. But, yeah, you're in trouble on the offensive line. And if you think you're going to have all these guys come in June and be ready to go against UNLV the first weekend, I don't know. Because you're going to have you went 42 new guys this year. You're going to do the same thing again. It's going to be 40 to 50.
Yeah.
And it could be more. So what's your big takeaway from this game?
This team, I think, they get kicked out of bowl eligibility, and
they get kicked out.
But I don't think they ever deserved it. If you watch them the entire year, I don't think you ever thought this is a 6-6 team. You thought maybe they could eke it out, or they could eke out a 5-7 if that was bowl eligible. I think, I don't think you ever thought that this was a team that is worthy of a bowl game in its first year here. Yeah, that I think that's the big takeaway for me. And whatever the expectations were, whether they were 4-8 was the mark, or 5-7, or 6-6 was the mark that people thought, or whatever. This isn't like this team didn't show. This team was uninspiring all year. I said it earlier to you one time on a pod, and it's still saying they were uninspiring all year, and they have 1 week to go, and I'd imagine they'll be uninspiring then.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine with bowl eligibility gone. I almost got it. With that gone, and you have to go on the road, and we still don't even know the time for the game. It's hard to see them getting up for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do. Maybe they surprise us all. To this comment, holes all over the field. We just talked about OL. DL is a huge problem too. You're going to lose your guy in the middle, Nwankwo. You're going to lose Nelson Caesar. He's declaring. And you're going to lose Ugwebu on the other end. Do you lose Caldwell? Or is he back? I think he's back. I think he's got at least 1 year.
You lose Cedric Williams.
Cedric Williams also. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
So that's 4 guys. You're going to lose a couple linebackers and some guys in the defensive backfield. I don't think that's a huge problem. But what can you get to replace them? What is there? The wide receiver room was touted. Dana said in the preseason, I'm not going to lose any sleep over the wide receivers. But the fact is you've had a walk-on freshman playing half the season. Stephon Johnson basically disappeared after the Hail Mary. Joshua Cobbs never got his footing. Golden was spotty for most of the year. Sam Brown has kind of disappeared in the second half of the year. How great are you feeling in that room, And Parker Jenkins is a nice running back, but he clearly needs somebody else. He needs a big back, He's a little guy. He needs a big back to be a change of speed. I don't think you have that right now. So when you say there's holes all over the field, I mean, it's all over the field. You lose your punter. And
order another one.
punt.gocougs.com. Thank you for the 3 people that have ordered while you're watching this. I appreciate it. And how much faith do you have in your kicker right now? I think he kicks off pretty well. I don't think there's an issue with that at all. But place kicking, you punted instead of kicking like a 54-yarder tonight. Okay, and it was a great punt. Lane put you inside the 5, and you got the safety out of it. But you chose not to go for points there. Okay, that tells us, Dana even told us last week that they change how they're going for situations in that area. And they chose to punt when they could have put points on the board.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know the numbers, but I want to say the hit percentage on a field goal past 40 yards was, I think, under 50% this year.
Oh, it's well under. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't good.
Day 111 is tomorrow. We have turned on our website, gocougs.com, we have a forum called The Veer. It's a private forum. We don't let outsiders in. It's just people that subscribe to gocougs.com. It's a great community. The people are awesome. It's pretty funny. And I write the daily every single day on gocougs.com, which has been a lot easier to do, to come up with things than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be struggling. But it's been okay. But last week, I post every day. I post my article from the daily, and I say day 84, day 99. Today, I think was day 110. Someone suggested we call it hostage situation, as Dana's holding the whole school hostage. I don't think that, Dana, and I didn't say it, but other people did. And so tomorrow will be 1/11 of the hostage situation. Jack Martin, field goals, 40 to 50 plus. He's 3 of 9. That's not good. He's pretty good inside of that number, inside of 40, but, everybody's expected to make those kicks. Recruiting's not done, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of high 3 and 4-star guys to see what you've seen and say, yeah, that's where I want to be. They're not done. Somebody could come, but my expectations would be pretty low for that. Where do you think the biggest issue on the roster is right now?
It's the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, obviously.
Both sides. You're losing 4 starters on an offensive line that wasn't that great to begin with. Aside from that left side with the first rounder, and then you're losing your 3 best defensive linemen or 3, at least your 2 best, maybe 3 out of your 4 or 5 best defensive linemen. In Ugwebu, Caesar, and Nwankwo. Nwankwo's your anchor guy. Caesar is your pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
And you're losing those guys.
Ugwebu's the other guy. Yeah.
Ugwebu's solid.
He's okay.
And
I thought I expected a little more.
Yeah. The guy in their place will be Zy Strong and Justin Benton, who are pretty unproven, I would say.
They are.
Jamar Caldwell may be your best returning player. We're not sure if he is.
I think he has the year. I think he does. I want to show you. Well, let's see something right here. Did you see AJ Halsey's tweet? And I don't think this is. I don't love this, right? I think kids are going to make emotional things, but it's out there. And so this is the tweet. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? It could mean anything. It doesn't sound good coming right after a game where, you got beat again. And Halsey's already transferred once. I don't think he can transfer again without sitting out a year, if that's what it means, but I don't know. And, guys are going to say things and maybe regret it, but if it's out there, it's out there. I don't disagree with this. I think he's looked more deer in headlights as the season's going on, and people have film of what he's doing here. And this is 100% true. What questions do you have this week?
One of the questions was about OSU's offense in the first half, but I'm going to skip that one. When did you realize
it got better in the second half?
It got better in the second half, but it didn't make sense in the first half. It really didn't. No. But when did you realize that Houston was going to lose?
It was in the first half.
Yeah.
Because if you look at halftime adjustments, U of H doesn't win that. And they haven't won it in a long time. And so when you're in I think it was a 4-point game at the half. I might be wrong, but I think it was a 4-point game. If you're in that situation, I don't know if you can expect Dana Holgerson's team to step up and go take it, And they got the ball first after half and ended up punting. And it was Lane had to juke a guy, I think was that punt. It's hard to keep up because there were about 7 in a row. And so it's hard to keep up which one was which punt. But Yeah, I thought that once Oklahoma State settled in offensively, that U of H was in a lot of trouble, and it turned out that way. And I don't think Oklahoma State did anything exceptional. I didn't think Cincinnati did either last week. Baylor certainly did not. But just you're not competing. You're not competing with what I don't think have been very good efforts. And I think you're going to go in next week and go to UCF and who knows what. It's the first time that I felt like I knew what was happening, and I think I know that this U of H team is going to go and lay an egg next week. Prove me wrong, but we'll see.
Question for me.
Do you think the wide receivers played well? Did they respond to Dana's challenge?
Not particularly. I thought they were fine. Sam Brown was better today. Dalton Carnes was fine. Yeah, they were fine. I don't think they were spectacular.
Nobody had more than 3 catches.
Yeah, which is weird.
So I think it was the first 7 catches went to 7 different receivers, which is neat. But that's not how you build any continuity. Receivers want the ball, and if they're seeing it go all over the field, how can they get in that rhythm? And
Jonah Wilson led in yards, and that was 1 catch, and that was his second catch. Second catch of his career.
I don't remember the first. They say it's 1 for 0 yards. I have no memory of it. It could have happened at Kansas State when I was on the field, and I wasn't able to see it.
I thought it may have happened at Baylor.
It may have been. Because Kansas State, he may not have made that travel roster. I don't 100% know. But that was a nice throw and a really good catch. Oklahoma State made some great catches down in this end zone, closest to Scott. They made 2 in that left side corner that were really good catches. And I don't know. I think you're going to see this happen a week from now. I don't think you're going to see Dana make any proclamations about coaches or if somebody's leaving. Maybe we'll ask him. Maybe I'll ask him off the record. We'll just see. I just don't think you're going to get anything out of this kind of question right now. But everything is on the table right now. You can't take it off. Here's a good thing. The tight ends are underutilized. There's a lot of tight ends in the last few weeks that have been lined out wide. You've seen O'Loughlin and Henry, I think. Burns. And help me make sense of that. A lot of them are run plays. Like they line them out. Sometimes they'll bring them back in, which they did in the first half, and Oklahoma State snuffed that out immediately. And I don't think U of H tried it again. Maybe I missed it. But what are they doing with the tight ends? In what, like last year, Christian Trahan was so underutilized, it was almost insane. I think that guy has been a very good receiver here, or a tight end. And he was a blocking guy. And that's fine. But you've got to get those guys involved in the offense. Those seams are there. You haven't thrown a ball to the seam all year. I'm going to get mad again. You have anything else? Any other questions?
I was going to ask what happens if they finish the season on a 3-game losing streak, but I don't know if much will. I think going 1-3 in your last 4 games, which is really the easiest part of your Big 12 schedule, with Baylor and then 2 AAC transplants, is pretty inexcusable.
But it will be excused.
Going 2-2 isn't great either.
If you could just show a glimmer of hope, that's all people really need. You took it from them in the second week at Rice. You said your team was looking ahead to TCU. And I think Nelson Caesar said that to us in the press conference after that game. Your team was looking ahead. And then 6 weeks later, this game didn't make sense. That just sounds like bad preparation to me. Your coaching staff didn't do their job. Your job is to have those guys ready. You're not going to be ready every single week. That is 100% a college thing. It's never going to happen. Okay. But you can't have 3 or 4 or 5 times where you're not ready. And what you've shown in the first quarter and in the first drive, you're not ready. You guys aren't ready. And when they come out after the half, they're not ready. You ran a nice drive against UT coming out of the half. But when else? When else have you been like, wow, okay? I don't remember. I really don't. You didn't score against Rice. You didn't score against UTS. I don't think you didn't score against Tech. You didn't score TCU. Maybe Sam, but I mean, who cares? There's just been no time where you thought that U of H is winning the halftime adjustments or is winning halftime. Like, we're going to go in there and fix some things and get ready. Tomorrow night, you're going to get to see a guy that fixes things and gets ready. And last night, bad example, they floundered and built a lead to 14 and then let Utah back in it, and then they hammered them. And I watched a little bit of that game again this morning, and you got to be excited about basketball. Everybody who's pissed off about Dana, and you have every right to be, and keep that intensity, because that's the only way that the regular people are ever going to be heard. They listen. I'm sitting in a suite. They listen to these people, but they need to listen to you too. You're the people they expect to come and fill the stadium, to give the small donations that all build together to a big donation. They expect you to show up. Well, they got to show up too. I think I just talked about 7 different things in that answer. How about we flip you to basketball? What are your expectations for tomorrow? And do you have anything that you didn't cover last night?
There was one day. Oh, I think tomorrow's game is going to be a good one. I think you said because I think Dayton's good, and Dayton is a well-coached team. I think. I'm trying to figure out what I was trying to say. I think you said
so are we.
Calvin Sampson is 19-3 in his last 22 games in ATEs.
Something like that. It's a crazy number. We'll have it in our stuff tomorrow, probably.
Yeah. And I assume the last one was the Wisconsin loss.
Yeah, Wisconsin, and then maybe like 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just not been many. He's been really good in these. You ought to go to basketball because it's freaking fun, and it's an exciting team, and that is a great stadium. And probably the only time in the last 40 years U of H has had a home court advantage, home field advantage, is at Fertitta Center. And that's why you should go to games. I'm not in marketing, but they keep coming in trying to get me out of here.
Yeah, me too.
No. Keep them focused where they're at, right?
Yeah, volleyball's about to get in the tournament in a couple weeks. I think one thing to watch, and one thing that I meant to cover yesterday about basketball is watching which of Damian Dunn and Emmanuel Sharp shows up.
Yeah.
Because they, and Kelvin said it, I think, after the Stetson game, that they really only need one to show up, and so far one has showed up each game.
Yeah.
And they also put Damian Dunn in the starting lineup in this tournament, and I was curious why. I wondered maybe if it was because of Damian Dunn's ankle injury, maybe that's fully healed, they feel, or they just prefer to have an older guy on the road, maybe, or whatever reason.
I think it's defense and rebounding.
Defensively,
And I think Emmanuel's been a little better on defense, and I think his rebounding in the last 3 games, he's got, I think, 14. So it's definitely been better this week. But, Kelvin Sampson tries to get attention in different ways. And a lot of it is in practice. It's a pretty intense environment. But, I think that if you sit somebody and have them come off the bench, sometimes you get a better production out of them. You get a more focused effort. You run the risk of guys moping and guys, not giving it their all, but you don't see that in this program. They don't make it to school here and onto the floor if that's who they are. I think there have been 2 guys in the last 6 years that I would call in that mold. One of them is Caleb Mills, and one of them is Robbie Armbruster. And they just weren't cut out for this. Okay, that happens. Sometimes a staff misses, and sometimes the player doesn't live up to the potential they have. Okay, that's fine. It happens. You're not going to hit every single one. But Kelvin uses that as kind of the carrot and the stick. Maybe he uses it as a stick to beat you with. But yeah, it sure is fun talking basketball sometimes.
It is. I will be at the Xavier game in Cincinnati in 2 weeks.
That's neat. Fun. Never been to Xavier. I'm curious to see what it's like. I think it'll be a big-time environment. It's the Big East Big 12 Challenge. And it's still weird to say Big 12 in terms of basketball, like we're getting used to it in football, but basketball. Dana has the most money any coach has ever had to spend on his staff. Dana has the guys he wants. He was allowed to fire an offensive line coach around signing day, a guy that's now at Missouri, and they're in the top 20, by the way. This team, not close. I mean,
there's still time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I will be there. I think Starnes will be there, but we'll see. I'll be at every road game in the Big 12 with the exception of UCF because I'm not going to Orlando. Just not doing it. So we're going to go to Provo and Ames and Norman and Lawrence and Baylor and Texas and somebody else. Cincinnati maybe. Maybe not. Well, we're going to be almost everywhere, You're not going to find another website that covers basketball like GoCougs.com. You're not.
Except for the DailyCougar.com.
Daily Cougar's doing a great job. When you get good leadership at the Daily Cougar, James was fine, and Andy before that. But Starnes is a man, and I'm so proud of him and happy for him of what they're doing. This was your last football game to cover.
Yeah.
That's so weird. It feels like you just got here and now it's over. But you've seen a lot of football, though, because of the home schedule and Rice and Baylor. You've seen a lot of football. You've seen 9 games, I think. That's enough. That's enough.
It's enough.
My last year as sports editor, I went to every game. And that was kind of brutal. And actually, Tuesday will be 25 years since my last game as sports editor. It was at Tulane when Tulane went undefeated. And now Tulane's back to that. They're winning 10 games every year. Crap.
By the way, I think I'm smoking you in the pick'ems.
Well, that's good. Good for you. Neat. Short drive from Ardmore. Yeah, we'll see you there, Jeb. I look forward to it. I love meeting people. And when we go on the road, I get to do it a lot more. Although, at Fertitta, we get to meet people, and that's pretty cool. And if you want to come say hi, please do. Why not? What you going to hurt? Y'all know where we are.
Say hi to me. Don't say hi to him.
Yeah, that's fine. So let's tie it together. Expectations. Not met.
Yep.
None. You have failed in every aspect of this season. Except you got yourself another year, apparently. The man that makes the decisions, the man that's given the money for a medical center and a basketball arena and some other stuff, he gets to call it. And this is what he wants. And he was followed out to the parking lot yesterday and gave some quotes. Maybe he planned that, maybe he didn't. But he said it, and this is where you're going to be, It's going to be a major upset if something happens with Dana now. Huge upset. We now have like the most people watching the show that we've had in the entire run of it. Thank y'all so much. Right now, this moment. Okay, now everybody log off. But thank y'all. Somebody just did. We appreciate it.
That was my mom.
She just doesn't like me. That's disappointing, Mom. I'm nice. I mean, look at his hair. Hippie.
Getting a haircut soon.
I agree with that. I agree with that a lot. And, Dana's now, when they start building right over here, which they say they're going to start like tomorrow or Monday, Dana has everything, everything he could ask for, everything he has asked for. Practice facility, outdoor, you'll have your building. The stadium is still under 10 years old. What do you need? When do you, my gut tells me that high school recruiting is just not what he's going to do anymore. There's going to be some guys, and they're going to spend some time, but it's going to be portal. It's going to be JUCO. And that's just the reality. It's never going to be high school focused again with the portal and how NIL works and everything. It's just not. And whether that's right or wrong, and whether the next coach has a different opinion or a way he goes about it, who knows? But Dana's just, I don't think he's focused on the high school guys. And how do you develop a program and build it? And, Kelvin Sampson uses the portal, and obviously basketball and football, different things. He uses the portal, but he depends on the development. Jamal Shed started in the lab and worked his way up. And Jawan Roberts did the same thing. They're doing the same thing with Emmanuel and Javier. And Tugler is in that first stage of it. And then you plug in guys around them to make this team. That's not the plan in football. And when the administration signs off on this program and the way they're running it, they're saying that 50 guys in the transfer portal is fine. And high school recruiting can be 101st or second or whatever it is. And I just think that's so short-sighted, and this fan base deserves more than that. But they're not getting it. And they're going to respond. And it's not going to be pretty. Dana said he really liked the crowd tonight, and the crowd was pitiful. There were a couple thousand Oklahoma State fans. They were pretty loud, which there was reason for most of the game. But yeah. Do you have any final thoughts? We've gone over an hour now. Sorry about that, y'all. I didn't think we were. I thought it was going to be like 12 minutes and we were gone. But the comments have been awesome. Y'all are doing a great job and helping us out and making the show better. Like, let's talk about what you want to talk about, not what we want to talk about. And this comment, I'm not going to put it on the screen, but they say Starnes sucks.
That's not true.
Oh, okay. What are your final thoughts of what you saw your last game covering U of H football? You'll cover them next week, but not in person.
Not in person. It's been quite the season. My first football season as sports editor, first and only. Yeah, it's been a lot, and I don't know how you really put it into words. But
Well, I got 3 wins in my last year. You got 4, and you could get 5 theoretically.
Mhm.
So you got that going for you.
Something.
Yeah. That's going to be our final thought. I don't know how you can put it much better. I deal with the fan base all the time, online, in person, my DMs and emails. Y'all back off. I didn't do it. I'm not the reason. But I hear it a lot. And for Tillman to say that he just doesn't hear that, I just don't know who he's talking to. And okay, I get it. That's how you feel. Just say this is what we're going to do, and everybody screams himself out, and then you have to move on. But they're going to move on and find other things to do. Today was too beautiful a day to come sit and watch mediocrity. Your offense is not good. Your defense got tortured in the second half. I don't know what to say, but it's not great. Thank y'all so much for watching a full season of Afterthoughts. It's been fun, kind of. We're getting better at it.
Yes,
we might
are.
just start doing Afterthoughts after other schools' football games just to keep practicing. But no. Home week next week. Neither of us are going to Orlando, and I think that's the right decision. So thank y'all so much, and take it away.
I'm Stuart Gus, official personal injury attorney of U of H Athletics. As you know, a great quarterback wins championships. If you've been injured in an auto accident, big or small, you can trust Gus to quarterback your case.
Call 866-TRUST-GUS today. Principal office, Houston, Texas.